At 75, Harold had finally met someone again. They talked, laughed. She made him feel young, like the world wasn't done with him yet. One evening, she invited him to stay. He was nervous, but excited. It had been years since he'd felt close to anyone. He wanted to touch her, to hold her, to feel like a man again. But when the moment came, his body didn't respond. His breath tightened, his confidence collapsed. She smiled gently and said it was okay. But the next morning, she left without a word. And Harold never heard from her again. He never tried again either. Not because he didn't want intimacy, but because deep down, he thought, maybe I'm not a man anymore. What happened to Harold is happening to thousands of men right now, quietly, painfully, and in silence. Not because of failure, but because no one ever told them the truth about their bodies, their desire, and what really changes after 60. I'm Dr. James, a urologist and men's health specialist. For over 30 years, I've walked beside men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. Men who thought their best years were behind them, until they discovered the truth. This channel exists for one reason: to bring that truth back to you, without shame, without judgment. Just real conversations, real healing, and real hope. That's why today, I'm going to share with you 5 hidden truths older men were never taught. Truths that could change how you see your body, your manhood, and your future. You'll discover why your erection isn't your identity, how self-pleasure can restore dignity instead of shame, what modern habits like porn are doing to your brain and nervous system, how to gently awaken your desire again even if it's been years, and most importantly, one truth at the end that might reconnect you to something deeper than sex: your peace. So stay with me, because if you've ever felt like time is taking something from you, this may be the first time someone gives you something back. And if this message resonates with you, even a little, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. Secret 1. Your erection isn't the whole story, and that's more than okay. There comes a moment in nearly every man's life when things begin to shift. Not drastically, not painfully, just quietly. One day, a morning feels different. The body responds slower. An intimate moment doesn't unfold as it once did, and almost instinctively, the question arises, is something wrong with me? Here's the truth. No, you are not broken. You are adapting. For decades, we've been taught that masculinity equals performance, that a man's worth is tied to the firmness of his erection. We've measured ourselves by it, in silence. But no one ever told us that erections change with age. Not because of failure, but because your body is inviting you to relate to pleasure differently. Let's reframe this. What if an erection was never the full story? What if presence, connection, and curiosity mattered more? Because here's what science and life have taught me. Men can experience deep pleasure without a full erection. Orgasm and satisfaction are driven by the brain, the nervous system, and emotional intimacy, not just blood flow. Slower responses don't mean lesser value. They mean you've entered a new stage, one that rewards patience, not pressure. Charles, 72, once told me he thought his magic was gone, not because he lacked desire, but because his body wasn't responding the same. We talked. He slowed down. He approached intimacy without rushing. 2 months later, he said, "I feel like a man again. Not because I proved anything, but because I let myself feel." That's the shift. It's not about regaining your youth. It's about redefining your relationship with pleasure on your terms. So if you felt like something is missing, know this. It's not lost. It's just asking for a different kind of attention. You're not less of a man. You're becoming a wiser one. This isn't the end of your intimacy. It's the beginning of a deeper, more meaningful chapter. Secret number 2. Masturbation isn't just sexual. It's emotional, neurological, and deeply human. Most men think of masturbation as something simple, a quick release, a private routine. But for older men, especially those who've lived through loss, silence, or long stretches of loneliness. It becomes something else, something deeper, something unspoken. Howard was 77 when he came to see me. Widowed, polite, a bit withdrawn. Not here for pills or procedures. Just something felt off. He said, "I don't feel depressed, but I don't feel alive either." After a while, he admitted quietly, "I still touch myself. Not because I want to, just to fall asleep." He looked ashamed, like he'd confessed a crime. But I looked at him and said, "That's not shameful. That's wisdom. Your body is regulating your emotions. It's helping you survive." You see, science supports this. Masturbation, especially in older adults, releases oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, the same chemicals that help us feel calm, safe, connected. It's not just about lust. It's about soothing your nervous system. That's emotional hygiene, not dysfunction. But here's the problem. When it becomes automatic, rushed, or purely physical, it stops being meaningful. You might find yourself feeling emptier afterward, not more relaxed. Not because the act is wrong, but because the connection is missing. So I often ask men, are you doing it to feel or to forget? Because that question changes everything. When you approach it with presence, when you slow down, breathe, and bring intention, you begin to awaken parts of yourself that haven't been touched in years. Not just your body, but your dignity. This isn't about needing porn or fantasy. It's about choosing to stay present with yourself. It's not weakness to need comfort. It's not shameful to want closeness. You are not less of a man for wanting to feel safe in your own body. In fact, that's courage. In a world that often forgets older men, sometimes the most radical thing you can do is to touch yourself. Not out of habit, but out of self-respect. So the next time you do it, don't rush. Don't treat it like a chore. Treat it like a gift, because it's not just physical. It's emotional. It's healing. It's your way of saying to yourself, I'm still here. I still matter. I still belong to this life. Secret number 3. Use it or lose it is real, but deeply misunderstood. You've probably heard the phrase, use it or lose it. For many men, it sounds like a warning, a ticking clock on their masculinity. But here's what most people get wrong. It's not about pressure and it's not about performance. It's about presence. The truth is, your sexual function, like your muscles, memory, and mobility, responds to attention. Not perfection, attention. I once worked with Roy, a 74-year-old widower who hadn't been intimate in nearly a decade. He hadn't touched himself, hadn't thought much about his body, and had quietly accepted that that part of life was over. But then he met someone new. She made him laugh again. She touched his hand. For the first time in years, he wanted to feel close again. But when the moment came, his body didn't respond. It's like trying to start a car that's been sitting in the garage too long, he told me. And I said gently, it's not broken. It's just asleep. You see, when we stop engaging sexually, even with ourselves, our bodies slowly begin to forget how to respond. Blood flow decreases. Nerves become less sensitive. Muscle tone fades. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow process, quiet, invisible, but very real. And yet, here's the hopeful part. It's reversible. Not instantly, not back to when you were 25, but slowly, gently, your body remembers. Roy didn't need medication. He didn't need to prove anything. All he needed was time and permission. He started touching himself again, not out of frustration, but out of curiosity. No pressure, no shame. And slowly, his response returned. Not just physically, but emotionally. I feel like a man again, he told me. Not because of what I can do, but because of what I can feel. That's the truth behind use it or lose it. It's not about urgency, it's about connection. You don't need a partner. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to show up for yourself. Even a few moments of intentional touch a week can help maintain circulation, nerve sensitivity, and most importantly, your sense of vitality. Because when you stop reaching inward, you start to fade. Not because you're too old, but because your body thinks you've given up. So don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect partner. Start now. Not for performance, for presence. Not to prove anything, but to stay awake in your own life. Secret number 4. Porn may be quietly destroying your natural sexual reflexes without you even realizing it. Let's talk honestly about something few men feel comfortable admitting: watching porn. You might think it's harmless, a late-night habit to ease loneliness, to feel a spark, to pass the time. But over the years, I've seen something most men never expect. The very screen they turn to for comfort slowly begins to steal their natural ability to feel. Ernest was 68, retired, widowed, and kind.
Thank you for watching.
He didn't watch
and
out of
please
lust.
consider subscribe for
He
more
just felt
videos
better
like
knowing
this.
something was there. A face, a voice, some kind of human connection, even if it was digital. But over time, he noticed that real touch, even his own, stopped working. "It's like my body went quiet," he said. "Nothing moves me anymore unless it's on that screen." This is more common than you think. When you consume porn regularly, your brain becomes trained to expect high levels of stimulation, fast scenes, loud sounds, rapid novelty. Your dopamine system adapts, and real-life intimacy, which is slower, quieter, more emotional, begins to feel dull. This is called arousal fatigue. And it's especially problematic as we age, because the brain's ability to bounce back, its neuroplasticity, becomes slower. The longer you rely on artificial stimulation, the harder it becomes to feel excited without it. But this isn't about guilt or quitting cold turkey. It's about awareness. I ask men one question: can you still get aroused by imagination alone? If the answer is no, your brain may have become dependent, not addicted, but conditioned. And the good news? You can gently retrain it. For Ernest, it started with a break. Just a few weeks without any screens. At first, it felt awkward, even boring. But slowly, his mind began to wake up. He remembered how to fantasize, how to feel again, not just react. When he finally touched himself without a screen, he said it wasn't fireworks, it was peace. That's the shift. Porn is intensity. Real intimacy is connection. One is fast and loud. The other is quiet and lasting. And when you remove the noise, your nervous system begins to respond again, naturally, gently, and honestly. So if real touch feels distant, if arousal only happens with the screen, you're not broken. You're just numbed, and you can come back, not by force, but by stepping away from stimulation and returning to yourself. Because your body hasn't given up. It's just waiting for your mind to get quiet enough to listen again. Secret number 5. Self-pleasure isn't indulgence. It's dignity. For many older men, the desire to touch themselves doesn't disappear, but the belief that they're allowed to quietly fades. It's not because they no longer want intimacy, it's because they've internalized a dangerous lie. At this age, it's no longer for me. Over the years, that thought settles in. Guilt, embarrassment, silence, and eventually, disconnection. Walter was 76 when he said to me, "I haven't done that in years. I don't know. It feels sad now, like it doesn't belong to me anymore." I looked him in the eye and replied, "It does belong to you, and it always has." Because here's the truth no one tells older men. Touching yourself isn't shameful. It's sacred. It's not about lust. It's about presence. It's a way to say, I'm still here. I still feel. I still deserve comfort, connection, and care, even from myself. What most men don't realize is that self-pleasure, when done with intention, becomes more than a habit. It becomes a ritual, a moment of dignity, not to escape, but to return to the body that has carried you through decades of life, love, loss, and growth. It says, you are still worth slowing down for. And when you reclaim this space, even privately, even quietly, something begins to shift. Not just in your body, but in your spirit. You stop waiting for permission. You stop apologizing for being a man with needs. You begin to see yourself not as someone fading, but as someone awakening. One touch at a time. This doesn't mean you need to do it often. It means when you do, let it be conscious, let it be free of judgment, create space, take your time, turn off distractions, not because it has to be perfect, but because you are worth the moment. Because every time you allow yourself to feel something real, without guilt, without shame, you are reminding yourself of something vital. I still matter. That isn't indulgence. That's integrity. That's reclaiming your right to feel like a whole man, not just one who remembers who he was, but one who honors who he still is. So no, you are not too old. You are not too late. And you don't need anyone else's approval to feel alive in your own skin. All you need is the willingness to come home to yourself, gently, quietly, and without apology. You've just heard 5 truths, not about shame, but about power, not about giving up, but about coming back. If this spoke to you, leave a comment and type, "I'm still here," like this video, for the next man who needs to hear it. Subscribe to join a space where men don't fade, they rise again. Because your body is not done, your story is not over, and your desire, it's still here, waiting for you to remember.